back again with the Rebel Show. Thanks you guys for showing up and continue to watch. You guys are watching all over all different kinds of platforms, so I hope the message is getting out. So we've been talking a little bit about how communism has been getting infiltrated and installed in the United States since the 50s. And this is kind of new information to me. I know that a lot of different things have happened, done by the Supreme Court and stuff, but I didn't really know that it was an agenda. I'm starting to learn now that it's an agenda. So one thing that communists will do is they'll infiltrate your government and then start doing specific things to get what they want involved. And it's not a random thing that we're getting things like the 1619 Project, where it's talking about that America invented slavery when slaves started to show up. That's when America was really founded, and it was created for slavery and stuff like that. It's all fake, and it's all designed to give people a bad opinion of America. And that's one of the goals, is to pervert the minds of people to not like America or hate America. And along with the class warfare, the rich versus poor and black versus white, that's all intentional, and that's all by design to divide the nation. Divide and conquer. That's what they want to do, is make people, there's people that are more special and more important than others, depending on if you're a bigger or smaller victim group. So that's what the class warfare is about. You know, there's riots. Riots have always happened. The left has always got certain groups upset and angry and cause them to cause riots to try to get more of their plan implemented. Excuse me. And their goal is to push socialism. They really want us to be a socialist nation. They want to push socialism. And the goal of socialism is communism. And that's what we're facing. We're very close to facing it. Already I said before, I believe that 40% of the world's population is communist slavery. I mean, there's tons of slaves in China and Korea, North Korea and other places. It's already normal everywhere, and they want to make it normal here. It's really not normal. It's a perversion. Communism is a perversion because God wanted to be king of his people. One leader over all the people, and he would communicate with the people. And he would rule them and help them and provide for them and give them the needs they have. And communism is a perversion of that. Communism is a dictator coming in, a man's way of being one leader overall, providing for every need that you have. And it ends up that these people go, well, there's certain groups we don't like, so we're going to murder them off, like Hitler and the Jews, Stalin with Ukrainians. It's a perversion of God's system. What God originally intended, to be the king over his people, to be the father over his people, you know. We get into interpretive reporting, which is basically explaining the meaning and overall importance of what the person said versus your brain doing that work. We now have reporters that their job is to interpret what you heard for you. And the modern media thinks the average person doesn't understand what someone says. So they have to interpret the message. To me, that's stupid. I've heard different talk radio places, they'll play someone's speech and they'll talk over the portion of it they don't want you to hear and go, oh, you don't need to hear this. And then they'll just play the clip you want. And I'm like, why would I not want to hear that? Why don't you just play it all? It's because they don't want you to hear it. So a good point to remember is John 10:10, a Bible verse. The thief comes but to steal, kill, and destroy. That's all socialism and communism's goal is. It's the enemy's way of destroying what God wants to create, which is life. So it comes to steal the wealth of a nation, to kill a variety of people, whoever the bad people, and destroy the livelihoods of people. Because businesses go away, people get moved into slave camps or farm camps or something along those lines, and it literally destroys your livelihood. There's no money to buy things. I mean, I like to play PlayStation. PlayStation won't exist anymore. TVs probably won't exist except if you're one of the super elite. You'll basically be a slave to society. And that's what the devil wants. To steal, kill, and destroy. And that's really the root of socialism, communism, is the enemy's way to try to take as much from God as possible. So I'll go through a couple of the things that happen when communism is implemented. You got to take heroes and make them villains, like Washington and Columbus. They vilify George Washington and say he was technically a slave owner, but he wanted to get rid of them. And under the British law, he wasn't allowed to. But you know what? He's one of the founding fathers that said, you know what we're doing is wrong. We need to stop it. And America was founded partially to help stop the slavery movement. They wanted to end it. They knew it was wrong because they believed that all men were created by God, and they didn't like it. And then they try to, like, Christopher Columbus has been vilified lately, and they say all kinds of lies about him. You can look them up, and if you want to find out the truth, you can go to wallbuilders.com because they have articles about all of them. But Columbus was not a tyrant, and he also was not a perfect man, but he was not a tyrant. There's a lot of interesting stories you can find about this guy. He came to a place, he called them savages, and he said that for a reason, because these people were always the Indians. He thought he landed in India, so they were called Indians, so I don't know how that's derogatory. But he came into a place where there was a bunch of people that were at war all the time, taking each other's land, stuff like that. I mean, it was a bad thing. Another thing they like to do is to disarm the population, and you see that through gun control. Like, I'm a little extreme here. I feel like anything the government should have, I should be able to have. I'm not really going to go out and buy a tank or a bazooka, but the point is, the founders would fine you if you didn't have enough ammo and gunpowder. Their government would fine people that didn't carry a weapon. And nowadays, people are scared to carry a weapon. People are scared of guns. People don't even allow guns in their house. And the point, I think, of being armed is you have the necessary firepower to deal with whatever comes, right? I probably don't need a tank, but at some point, maybe you do. Who knows? But the point is you have the necessary firepower to protect your family with whatever that becomes to be. And then another thing they want to do is defund the police. I know that Hitler did this, and now we're seeing that. Defunding the police, that's an option somewhere. I know a guy that his kids are moving from California to Colorado because they've defunded the police and crime is going crazy there. And they're done with it. They're trying to raise a family and they're done with the crime. They're done with no police anywhere. It's just bad news. So, another thing that they do is they re-educate the teachers. So, in the None Dare Call It Freedom book, it was talking about how teachers would go through in the summer re-education to teach students how to learn differently. So they basically want students to not learn individually. They don't want individuals. They want groupthink. And now that I understand groupthink, it's where you teach everyone to think the same way, respond the same way. And if someone's different, you got to vilify that because they're wrong. And I can understand how the left is so united because they do groupthink. And on the right, you see a lot of Republicans that we have a lot of Republicans that can't agree together. And it makes sense because if you're more of a free thinker, you're not just going to buy anything that's told to you. You're going to think it through and do something else. So re-educating the teachers, then rewrite the textbooks. You know, the history, revisionism. I know there's history books nowadays that don't even use footnotes anymore. I make sure the books I try to read all have footnotes and they all are linked to a source that's trustworthy. I mean, I have sources that are actually written documents of founding fathers. So I don't get an opinion from someone. I try to get the actual thing. And then they want to dumb down the curriculum. So you know that Common Core is one of the ways they do that. I mean, mass education in the founding era was a big deal. And the Bible was one of the big things. They also used the New England Primer and other books that, like even the New England Primer, if you've ever got a copy about that, or a copy of that, it's pretty intense. I'm an adult. I mean, these kids were smart back then, and life expectancy back then wasn't what it is now. Let's see. So they want to create groupthink. They want to propagandize the media, and we know that. Like, they want to make capitalism evil, and that's a huge thing because you can't install a socialistic, communism type thing if you have a booming economy. You have to crush the economy first, and that's why we're getting into some of these let's see. Excuse me. That's why this climate change thing is so big, because the climate change thing is not really about climate change. This is about destroying the economy. Now, AOC, the politician, if you want to call her that, AOC, she's just a talking head, really. Her chief of staff said this. Now, I'm going to butcher his name, and that's okay, but I'm going to tell you his quote. Saket Charakbari, or something like that, was his chief of staff. And before he was let go, he said, do you guys think of it as a climate change thing? Because we really think of it as a how do you change the entire economy thing. So all this climate change push isn't about climate change. This is about changing and destroying free enterprise system and installing a socialistic government run thing where government regulates everything. You know, you got to do that in order to install communism, socialism. You cannot have a booming economy and make these changes. You need desperate people who are ready to give up their freedoms. You need desperate people who are ready to back away because they're scared. And when you're scared, sometimes you'll do things you would normally do. They got to create fear, and they got to fearmonger, and they've got to take from you. And we're getting low on time. So they overregulate the economy, and they create vehicles to overthrow the economy, and they mask it with something like climate change. Now, there may be some climate things that are happening. Is it man-made? I mean, the science is not in on that. And if people say the science is in, I think we need to take all the opinions in and take all the science about that and discuss that. So that's my spiel on communism. It's being installed, and it's not a good thing, and we need to stop, and we need to vote. We need to vote biblical values, and we need to vote every election possible. So thank you very much.